virtual meetings at work. So this is really thinking about what happens when you get the job and you're at work, which now for a lot of people means you're sitting at home and you're on your computer working remotely. What are things that you should keep in mind? So the first thing you should do, and this really goes for any job, regardless of working virtually or in person or whatever your responsibilities are, is look at what other people are doing. Figure out what the work environment and the culture is like. Figure out what your responsibilities are, what's expected of you, and adapt that to your work environment. So if that means everyone tends to be, even if you're virtual, everyone's wearing a button up or wearing some nice clothes, or rather business casual clothes on their meetings, then you should do the same. You should not come in with a t-shirt. You should not come in with anything less than that. You want to make sure you're holding yourself to the same standards that they're holding themselves to. If people don't have their cameras on in meetings, then I think it's okay for you to not have your camera on. If people do have their cameras on, you should also have your camera on. Like, you want to make sure that you're respecting them as they're paying respect to you, or at least adapting to that work culture. If there are situations where you have to turn your camera off and you feel like that's fine with your manager or with the people you're working with, then feel free to turn it off. But I really encourage you to just have those conversations with your coworkers, with your manager or supervisor, and figure out what is expected of you, so you know how to show up when you're at work. Again, so this is join the meeting early, which would be on time, and staying muted unless you're speaking. This is a general rule of thumb I have for myself, and I think this really should just go for anyone, especially if you're joining larger groups or larger meetings. As you join anything, if you're jumping into a Zoom call, Google Meet, whatever it is, make sure you're already muted, especially if you are joining something late. So if the meeting started at 12 o'clock and you're joining 12:05 and you come in unmuted and there's like rustling in the background, there's a car going by and you're walking outside and all this stuff is happening, that's just disrespectful to the people that are already there who showed up on time and who are ready to go. So if that stuff is happening in the background, they shouldn't have to hear it. So mute yourself, make sure that you're respecting people, everyone else who's in that meeting with you. And in general too, even if you're fine, you come in a meeting muted, and you're not speaking, you wouldn't want to say unmuted, because anything could happen in your background. Like I said, loud cars, pass by me or my apartment all the time. And I wouldn't want that random noise to come up and interrupt somebody who's speaking in a meeting. So I try to mute myself all the time. Same for you. Again, if you have people in your background, if you have different sounds going on, just stay muted until you're speaking, so that someone else isn't interrupted by whatever's happening. We know that Zoom and other video conferencing platforms, tend to kind of switch the camera depending on the sound that's being heard. And so if your sound overtakes someone and the camera switches to you, and then it becomes a whole thing. So you don't want that to happen. And you really want to make sure that person speaking is getting, you're giving them your undivided attention. Again, don't multitask. I will be honest, at work, I'm a victim of this. I tend to multitask sometimes. And I really think about it in the sense of, if I were in person in this meeting, I would not be multitasking. So when I have my computer, when I have my phone, I would not be looking at my phone. I would not be like up on my email. So trying your best to give people the respect that you would give them in person while they're virtual, paying attention to the conversation, not typing something, not texting your friend, not checking your email, not working on a presentation, whatever else, but just focusing on the conversation, so that you don't miss anything, number one, and also so that you're just respecting them. And you also wouldn't want, if you're conducting holding a meeting, you wouldn't want other people doing other things and losing focus and not paying attention to what you're saying. So in the same vein, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to what they're saying. And yes, like I mentioned, if it's common for cameras to be on, just keep your cameras on. If it's not, then you don't have to.
Make sure to check out the My Career tab on the BC Navigator app, where you can track your career progress based on the amount of credits you've earned, stay updated on upcoming events from the Magner Center, and watch our videos for insight and advice on your career field.